Welcome to another edition of Youth United. We're working for a better future. We discuss issues impacting youth, and we have important and influential people in our communities. Today's discussion is how to build leadership while in college. Our guests are Dr. Veronica Cruz and Stanley Cruz. Dr. Cruz holds a doctorate in public management for the Rockefeller School of Public Affairs and Policy at the University of Albany. She is a social worker by training and has an adjunct professor at the University of Albany. Stanley Cruz is an undergraduate student at the University of Albany who has distinguished himself as a student leader and athlete. He is a senior majoring in public policy and Latin American and Caribbean studies. Welcome, Stanley, and welcome, Dr. Cruz. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So we'll start our question with Dr. Cruz. And these are some major challenging times for students going through college. Costs are constantly increasing, and admissions at all levels are becoming not only more competitive, and students are graduating with increasing debt loads, and the economy is forcing about 34% of college graduates to take jobs that do not need college education or remain unemployed. So is attending college a must to succeed in today's economy, do you think?
It's a good question. Is it a must? I would say that there are people who are working in our economy who don't have a college education. So it's not a must in order to get a job, but it is important in order to pursue the type of employment that you want. A college education gives you more options. And that's very important, particularly in today's economy where our options are more and more limited by factors that are impeding on our economic growth.
And you're a parent with pre-college age children, so how do you see yourself navigating financial obligations of sending your children to college?
Well, college is much more expensive these days than it was when I went to college. When I went to college, I left with a student loan debt of $1,500. That's $1,500. I don't think anyone leaves with that little a debt any longer. In fact, there was a recent piece that I read last week that said $36,000 is the minimum. And so kids are leaving with a lot more debt, and it costs a lot more to send kids to college. We have a plan for our children and for sending them to college, and we're fortunate enough to be able to do that. Many parents don't have similar options, but there are multiple options that will allow most people who want to go to college to go, and it's especially important for them to do so.
How do you think young people should prepare themselves for the realities of affording college?
Well, young people, the most important thing that they can do is like yourself, which is enjoy their education, enjoy the parts of their education that they think they most want to pursue, and take advantage of the opportunity, particularly the high school years, to show the best of what it is, the best of their abilities, their academic abilities, and really to take that opportunity to learn in preparation to be competitive, to go to college.
And now turning over to you, Stanley, why did you decide to attend University of Albany, and how have you navigated the expense of college education?
I chose the University at Albany, one, because of the proximity. I'm originally from New York City. And it's also probably the best bang for your buck when it comes to a college education. The cost of state university is very low compared to private university, and I felt that that was the best option for me and my family. Navigating the expenses of college, been very lucky to have supportive parents during my college years, and thanks to grants and scholarships, my college costs have been pretty low. So what I try my best to do is to budget my money accordingly to what I have, that way that I can pretty much survive, since the school doesn't really provide a lot of assistance in that regard. But most students like myself are able to have the basic necessities of college, and pretty much you budget accordingly to what you have.
Do the prospect of student loan debt and a weak economy scare you, and how are you going to repay the loans in the future?
I mean, it is a little scary, since it's pretty much the first large amount of debt that a young person has in their life. But I think what's key is just preparation. Get the best out of your education and prepare yourself for the best possible job you can get out of college, and hope for the best. There's a lot of options out there to repay your loans, so you have to find which is best for you. But it's pretty much, you've already gotten into it, you have to get the best you can out of it, and I think debt or no debt, I think the education is the most important.
And your peers and your classmates and your friends, and they're all talking about college affordability. How optimistic are you and they finding jobs when you graduate in May?
I'm pretty optimistic, given my involvement on campus and all the internships and volunteer opportunities that I've taken advantage of. I feel that I have gained the right skills to enter the workforce. I have a lot of friends and fellow students that have not taken some advantage of the many opportunities available to them, and they are a little nervous, but I think it's just, utilize your network, use a lot of informal means to find a good opportunity. And a good way to do that is to volunteer like I did most of my life, because who's not willing to accept free help, and you gain great experience in the process.
That's true. And now, Dr. Cruz, you're highly accomplished in your academic achievement and your professional life. So did you doubt your ability to finish and pay for your undergraduate, master's, and doctorate degrees?
There were moments. There were those ramen noodle moments, where you ate a lot of that. See, he laughs because he's probably eating them now. But what I never doubted was that it was an important thing to do. And so that pursuit, made it easier to understand why I was doing it. I think when you understand why something has its intention and its purpose in your life, it makes it easier to do. And who doesn't want to pursue or have the ability to pursue their dreams, the things that they want to do? And an academic accomplishment gives you the ability to do that. So, you work, but you get through it.
But do you think that in today's day, students have more like hoops to jump through to finish their education, or is it just the issue of college debt that's just overblown?
Well, I'm not sure that the discussion on debt is overblown, because kids are leaving with a lot of debt. And that is, as he mentioned, is, you can't escape that. That's what's going to happen. You're going to leave there with some debt. College is more expensive. College just costs more to live. So all around, they're assuming more debt, college students today. At the same time, does that make the opportunity to go to college, what a college education gives you, does that make that any less in value? No, it makes it even more important.
And now you have a doctorate degree, like I mentioned before, and so which make you a commodity in like the labor market. So has your high degree of education always like guaranteed you an easy access to finding a job?
Well, I wouldn't say it was easier, but I think what an education does, first and foremost, is it gives you as a person an education. Its value in that is it makes you smarter. It makes you what I see as a smarter parent, as a smarter friend, as a smarter companion. It helps you to be an all-around better person in education. And second, it presents opportunities. And so what my PhD has afforded me is opportunities. And it also demonstrates that I was a person who invested in the training that she needed, the training that I needed in order to pursue my ambitions.
And opportunities do translate into, probably better jobs or better outlook on finding a job.
For sure. It gives you, it opens more doors for you, and it also shows employers the kind of person that you are, someone who is willing to pursue something and to finish it and to accomplish it. So it makes you much more competitive in the market.
And speaking of opportunities, Stanley, you are a student leader. Do you think that this is going to help you find a job after you graduate more likely than anyone else?
Absolutely. I've been given the opportunity to manage large-scale programs and conferences and large budgets. As a vice chairman of the Student Association and vice chairman of the Board of Finance, we have to create a budget of $2.5 million from the student activity fee for all student group activities. And I think something like that is a smaller scale of what occurs in the real world. So I feel that experiences like that, and through others that I've experienced, I think I'm absolutely well prepared for the job market versus my colleagues at the university that don't participate in the opportunities provided for them.
All right, thank you. We're going to take a short break now for important information, and we will be right back.
So I've come up with the family emergency plan.
Great. What is it?
It's difficult to talk about, so I'm not telling you.
How will we know what to do?
You won't.
I'm so glad I won't have to remember anything.
And me too. Thanks for this, sweetie.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back to Youth United. We've been discussing affording college and building student leadership skills with Dr. Veronica Cruz and Stanley De La Cruz. So, going back to our discussion, Stanley, before the break we talked about how you think being a student leader is going to help round off your college education. So why did you decide that being involved in campus is worth your time?
It gives you an opportunity to gain skills that you wouldn't gain in the classroom. I think it's very important to not just maintain a very, interdisciplinary education so that you get, exposed to different skill sets and different methods of research and getting trained and practicing a lot of different ways of going about your work. But aside from that, you get the real experience by getting involved. You don't gain anything financially from it, but the skills that you get from that, you wouldn't be able to get unless you were in the workforce. So I think it's very important to be involved. It really does set you apart from the rest of the students, and the skills that a professor wouldn't be able to teach you. There's a lot of it gives you access to a lot of mentorship and a lot of experiences that people that are successful have done before you. So it's all about, it makes you competitive, like we mentioned earlier.
And I know SUNY Albany has like the world within reach is like their little slogan, so it's kind of like accurate with you, right? You're standing out.
Yeah, definitely the world within reach. Being at the Rockefeller College as a public policy major, I get to interact with students from all over the world. Being president of one of the largest cultural group on the campus does give me an opportunity to present Latino culture to the rest of the campus, and it helps you interact with other student leaders from other cultures as well. So I do feel that the world is within reach at the University at Albany.
And now, Dr. Cruz, considering that having like a very high grade point average is like directly linked to long hours of studying, is becoming involved in like college organization worth it all for students, especially if like they entered college with like some deficiencies from inadequate schooling?
Well, what I would see is that students who were involved on their campus were more engaged in the everyday life of the community. They were part of a larger community. That can help bring you along. Also the research shows that we learn better in groups, that generally speaking, that's where we get a lot of our educations in groups. We're social beings. So when we're in a group, whether it is a group like Fuerza Latina or Latino organization on campus, whether it's volunteering at the Red Cross, there's a lot to be gained from those experiences. And particularly because they give us a chance, as he's mentioned, to practice. You want to practice while the consequences are not as grave. So you can practice on a $2.5 million budget when it's not, when the consequences isn't as grave and you're not on the job. So there's so much that you gain from it. And you see it when you see students. You see the difference between the students that are very engaged in the community of college life versus the students that are more isolated.
What do you tell your children about getting prepared for college courses, and how do you push them to get involved in their school and in their life?
Well, I think that the most important thing that you can do as an educator and as a parent, they're not different, and that is inspire learning. You want to inspire people to love learning, and the way to do that is to start with the things that they love. So if they love history, inspire them through history. If they love mathematics, develop a passion for a formula. But the first thing to do, I think the first place to start, whether you're a parent or educator, is to start with inspiring learning, and inspiring learning through the things that people love.
People tend to do better in what they like too, for example.
Right. And yes, that's right. People tend to do better in things that they love. Would you agree that that's true?
Absolutely. My parents from a very young age instilled a sense of volunteering to the community, and through that a lot of volunteer opportunities came, and being a public policy major and also Latin American Women Studies major allows me to address a lot of social issues and that people face, and I feel like that's what I've been exposed to through volunteering, and now it's kind of like I've been doing this all my life, and now after I graduate I get to do the same thing I've been doing and address the issues a lot more effectively while also getting paid for it.
Right, and kind of translating to high school too. You're starting out before you go to college. It's like when you do well in the classes you like, as opposed to maybe a class you don't like and you don't really put it as a priority. That all ties in.
That has a symbiotic relationship. You know, when you do well in one area, it builds confidence, it builds your self-esteem, it builds your desire to want to do better in other areas. So that's important too, is to help people feel successful, even if it's in one thing, because it has a way of translating to other areas. And you know, as a parent and as an academic, you know that is a winning formula.
Absolutely. And now going back to you, Stanley, why did you decide to like intern in the New York State Assembly, and compared to what you like learned in your lecture centers, has that experience like opened your eyes even more to the world?
Absolutely. I decided to volunteer to intern at the New York State Assembly. One, partly because the opportunity presented itself. You know, I was taking an internship course and I needed to find something to fulfill the requirements. But being involved in, you know, public policy in the making right before my eyes, I think it was very important to see that, because it gave me a lot of insight into how the government works on the day-to-day. And I think that gives me unique insight in the classroom that you can't really learn from the books. You know, it's a very intense work environment that I don't feel I would have been prepared had I not been exposed to it previously. So it motivated me a lot as well, since I was able to see, you know, what are the skills that I need to make sure that when I do complete my education that I'm able to re-enter that environment. So it helped me a lot more preparing myself, and it also allowed me to give insight to my fellow classmates that didn't have that experience, and luckily a lot of them have taken the opportunity as well. So it's an excellent opportunity.
Would you recommend that to people even who are not interested in that field, perhaps, like to still intern there to get experience?
Absolutely. You know, it's good. Everything in society always ends up going back to public policy somehow. If you're in a different field, perhaps you can find a member that focuses that area of legislation and intern for them. A lot of issues that people believe aren't involved in the public policy realm can be solved through legislation, or other programs created through government. So I think it's important that regardless of which field, whether you're into politics or not, that you're familiar with how the system works, so you can properly address those issues.
Dr. Cruz, you were also very involved in community organizing yourself. So what made you get involved beyond your academic responsibilities?
Well, for me it was about a responsibility not just to my own individual pursuit, but contributing to the larger community and the issues that were affecting our community and the issues that affect our community. So for me it was about extending beyond myself to something that was bigger than myself. And so that was the impetus for getting involved.
Now kind of turning over to you again, Stanley. Can you tell the audience what the National Latino Collegiate Conference is?
The National Latino Collegiate Conference is it's in its 25th year this year. We have over 1,000 participants from around the country that join us at the university. Basically, we provide, you know, cultural exposure, workshops, policy forums, a great banquet, and a great networking opportunity for students. There's not a lot of forums for students to discuss issues that among students that affect students. So usually these conversations are happening with professionals and scholars that aren't currently undergrad. So I think it's very important that we provide this opportunity for undergraduate students and perhaps graduate students that feel that they can contribute to solving the issues that are facing our communities.
And that kind of ties in with you. You ran for president of the largest Latino student organization in SUNY. So how do you think that that's helped you become not only a better student, but like a better prospect employer?
It helped me become a better student because as I noticed a lot of the issues that we dealt with through our community service and outreach and through all the policy work that we do, that my education could have a direct impact in helping solve those issues. So it helped motivate me to take more courses that dealt with you know, a lot of the issues that we face as an organization, and that's kind of where the Latino studies came in, where I realized that public policy, I need another perspective on public policy that I'm not being provided at the moment. So that helped me studies wise. To potential employers, I think one, as a president, delegation and preparation and leading an organization, we have almost 500 members, and I think it's the skills that I learned there and all the things that we're able to accomplish does make me marketable. But I think it's also important that I'm also able to create opportunities for my colleagues around me to also be marketable. So it puts me in a very unique position. It's good for me, but I think it's important that it's good for everyone that chooses to participate as well.
And again, you think with, like another example, all of your experience as not only student leader and then all these other things you do outside of organizations, again, you would agree that it continues to make you a better candidate for jobs versus all your peers and all your classmates that didn't do any of this, right?
I mean, every person is unique. Usually, everybody focuses on, your GPA, and that's important. But when you find yourself that maybe you have to fill in some of the gaps, so being involved helps fill in some of that. Sometimes you need certain skills that you're not able to gain through your education, so that also helps. Involvement does help gain those skills, so you have to make yourself the complete package. If you have perhaps a lower GPA, more involvement will help you, versus where if you have a high GPA and you're still able to maintain your involvement, that makes you even more competitive. So there's ways to, I guess, create a package to make yourself marketable, and you have to be aware of that, face the reality of whatever your situation is, and try to make the best out of it. I don't think that not being involved will definitely cut you out, but it definitely sets you apart.
No, because people make big stinks about college things, high GPA, high SAT score, and they're like, that's it. They're really just assessing how you take a test and how good your memory is. They're not actually thinking, well, what about your real skills? Because life is not about taking tests. It's a lot more than that to life. So, Dr. Cruz, at what point do you think a student should consider becoming involved, like freshman year or even before their high school years?
When they're ready, when they have a desire to get involved, they should, try it out, put their feet in the water. It's not easy. It's not easy sometimes for some people who are coming onto a campus, and a campus is very large. For some people, the college campus, depending on where it is, can be so much larger than even where they come from, or the community is very, very different, and so they have to take some time to get to know that before they get their feet wet. But whenever a student, whether you're in elementary school, whether you're in middle school, whether you're in high school, it doesn't matter. If you have a desire to get involved, do it. Take that leap of faith and try it out.
And for many students now who are in college and they have to balance both coursework with like an actual job in order to afford college, do you have suggestions on how they can build leadership skills without having to become involved in something that they can't have time for?
Well, it's not, leadership skills are built even in an everyday job, because you are building a sense of responsibility. You're building you're working as part of a team. A job, like working in a club, builds leadership. It builds character, and it gives you some really good skills that you don't get in the classroom. So, it's difficult to balance them. It's very difficult it can be difficult to balance school and a job, but sometimes they say, if you want something done, give it to the busy person. And that's because sometimes it's the people that do a lot that tend to juggle those things the easiest. But it can be difficult, and people, we all have a measure, we all have a barometer that we work with, an internal barometer, and we'll know when that gets to be too stressful. You got to hear yourself. You have to listen to what is going on with you, and for some students, we'll see when they're feeling overwhelmed. They'll start to see it by their absences, the number of absences, or even their grades. There are many indicators that send us cues that we're feeling overwhelmed, and what we're doing is more. We need to cut back on what we're doing. So I would say students should listen to those cues. And if they need help, that's what instructors, professors, teachers are all there for, to help them and to guide them and to reach out and talk to someone about that.
Now, how about you? You're a college student, so how did you manage a side job and studies?
Well, a lot of time management played into it. For a lot of people that don't have a lot of time to really participate physically, thankfully a lot of technology and through social media you're still able to remain engaged on a lot of the issues that people are physically working on. So you can still be part of you can still be involved virtually, and I think that's important because at least if you're not there physically, you still get exposed to issues and you get to contribute to the solution. So I think that when, like I said earlier about creating that package, you have to really realize what are the things that I could be involved in that don't require me physically being there perhaps. So there's a lot of opportunities, and it's not always about we're gonna go do some type of service or something like that. There's a lot of also professional organizations that I think it's important that you be a part of because they provide resources that you can utilize on your own time to develop yourself professionally, and a lot of perhaps go see professors at office hours. I've gotten a lot of opportunities to talk to my professors outside of class time, opportunities to develop myself professionally, and I'm able to share that with all my other classmates that also have a lot of time constraints. And after 4 years, I've been able to develop my time management skills to the point where I have very few gaps of time in the day, but I'm able to accomplish a lot.
So both of you would agree, like with young people or your friends or classmates, whoever, that you would force them to get involved really for your own benefit. If they're trying to like debate whether they should or not, you would try to push them toward the edge so they would get involved for their own benefit, right?
If it's something that they want to do, yeah, that they feel it's a passion, it's an interest, I would say go for it.
I agree. I think the university puts a lot of pressure on people to get involved, and I don't think it's something that's forced, but I think it's an opportunity that it's almost necessary in today's society to be competitive after leaving the university. So definitely at least give it a try, give it a shot, and see what you like, see what you don't like. And a lot of campuses provide opportunities to create something that you feel that's necessary on the college campus. So it is what you make it. If you pay the same price as somebody that's not involved, so you might as well get more out of it if you're given the opportunity. So it's definitely something you should take advantage of.
Utilizing your resources and making connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you navigate in this world. Well, thank you both. It was a great conversation. Thank you both for your time. And that's all the time we have for today. So thank you all for joining us again for Youth United Working for a Better Future. I'm Maya Palazzo Martinez, and take care until our next edition.